Tragedies of the Elizabethan Expansion. Welcome to a thought-provoking episode of Chronicles, where we delve into the untold stories and hidden realities of historical figures. In this episode, we take a closer look at Queen Elizabeth I and explore the dark side of her rule, examining the impact on those who were oppressed and colonized. Join us as we uncover lesser-known facts and shed light on the perspectives often overshadowed by the grandeur of the Elizabethan era. Queen Elizabeth I is often celebrated as a powerful and influential monarch, leading England during a period of artistic and cultural blossoming. However, her reign was marked by the expansion of English colonization, which brought immense suffering and exploitation to many parts of the world. As we explore the dark side of her rule, we must acknowledge the pain and hardships endured by those who fell victim to English imperialism. Queen Elizabeth's pursuit of Protestantism and her conflict with Catholic powers, such as Spain, had far-reaching consequences. The English crown's aggressive policies and military campaigns led to violent encounters, displacement, and loss of life. While seen as a defender of Protestantism, her actions also contributed to the religious persecution and marginalization of Catholics within England. Elizabethan expansionism under Queen Elizabeth I's rule witnessed the establishment of English colonies in various parts of the world, including North America, Africa, and Asia. However, the impact of this expansion on indigenous peoples cannot be overlooked. Their lands were forcibly seized, their culture suppressed, and their populations devastated by a combination of disease, warfare, and forced assimilation. The pursuit of wealth and power often came at the expense of the rights and well-being of these native populations. As English settlers arrived in new territories, they claimed ownership of lands that had been inhabited by indigenous peoples for generations. The dispossession of indigenous lands was often justified through concepts of discovery and manifest destiny, perpetuating the belief in European superiority and the right to dominate and exploit other cultures. Indigenous communities were displaced from their ancestral lands, disrupting their way of life and severing their deep connection to the land. Alongside land seizures, the English colonizers sought to impose their own cultural norms and values upon indigenous populations. Indigenous traditions, languages, and spiritual practices were suppressed and deemed inferior to European customs. Native peoples were pressured to adopt Western practices, often leading to the erosion and loss of their unique cultural identities. This systematic cultural suppression not only deprived indigenous communities of their heritage but also perpetuated a narrative of domination and assimilation. The arrival of European colonizers also brought with them diseases to which indigenous peoples had no immunity. Epidemics of smallpox, measles, and other illnesses decimated indigenous populations, wiping out entire communities and leaving behind a trail of devastation. Moreover, conflicts and wars between the English colonizers and indigenous groups resulted in further loss of life, exacerbating the already profound suffering experienced by native peoples. English colonial powers sought to impose their political and social systems upon indigenous societies. Native governments and systems of governance were disregarded, and indigenous peoples were often subjected to colonial rule and governance structures that prioritized the interests of the colonizers. The autonomy and self-determination of indigenous communities were undermined, leading to a loss of sovereignty and control over their own affairs. Despite the immense challenges faced by indigenous populations, they displayed remarkable resilience and resistance against the forces of colonization. Indigenous leaders and communities fought to protect their lands, preserve their cultures, and maintain their identities in the face of overwhelming adversity. Their struggles and resilience form an essential part of the narrative surrounding Elizabethan expansionism and remind us of the enduring spirit of indigenous peoples throughout history. By shedding light on the impact of Elizabethan expansionism on indigenous peoples, we strive for a more nuanced understanding of this historical period. It is crucial to acknowledge the experiences of the oppressed and colonized, recognizing their enduring legacies and promoting a more inclusive and comprehensive examination of history. Another dark chapter of Queen Elizabeth's rule is the oppression of the Irish people. The English crown's policies, including land confiscations and forced Anglicization, fueled tensions and led to widespread violence. The Irish population faced discrimination, economic exploitation, and cultural suppression, leaving scars that endure to this day. Queen Elizabeth's reign was also characterized by strict censorship and persecution of dissenting voices. Authorities sought to control information, suppress religious and political opposition, and maintain a tight grip on power. Many individuals were targeted and punished for their beliefs or expressions that challenged the established order. While Queen Elizabeth herself was a symbol of female empowerment, her reign did not bring about significant advancements for women in general. Gender roles and expectations remained deeply entrenched, limiting the opportunities and rights of women in Elizabethan society. Female voices were often marginalized, and women faced societal pressures to conform to strict norms and expectations. As we reflect on the dark side of Queen Elizabeth I's rule, it is essential to recognize the full spectrum of her legacy. While her reign brought advancements in literature, exploration, and the arts, it is crucial to acknowledge the suffering experienced by those affected by English expansionism and oppressive policies. By examining history from multiple perspectives, we can strive for a deeper understanding of the complexities and contradictions of the past. Join us in our next episode as we continue to explore the lives of remarkable individuals who have shaped history.